Mic check, mic check.
Thank you to the band for that amazing performance. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our annual symposium. I'm Mutu, and alongside my co-host Sandy, will be your MCs for this event.
Hello, everyone. We're thrilled to have you here as students showcase projects that span over mastery, service learning, languages, and personal projects. This evening is all about celebrating learning in action and sharing the incredible work of our peers.
Here's how it's going to go. We'll start off with our service segment, then move into grade 12 mastery, take a short 10-minute break, continue with grade 11 mastery, personal projects, and then wrap up with languages. After that, you'll have a chance to explore the exhibition in the hall and chat with each presenter in more detail.
We've got a lineup that'll definitely keep you on the edge of your seats. So stay tuned, sit tight, and enjoy.
Without further ado, let's kick things off with our symposium scholar. Please welcome Summer to the stage.
Thank you so much for the introduction. So, this is actually a picture of me at TGS, and this is just how the evolution has continued. So, I am Summer Ruland, and I am deeply grateful to be here with you guys today as the 2025 Symposium Scholar at TGS. Before we move on, I have to let everyone in the room know that yes, you can all still read, and no, that is not a typo. I know you see Sam Hatwyer on the screen, but I promise you my name really is Summer, just like the season. Nearly every conversation with strangers, for me, is extended by 30 to 45 seconds as I attempt to patiently, for the millionth time in my life, explain where on earth I'm from, how my name is actually pronounced, and that they can just call me Sam if that's easier. So, where I'm from, that is a tricky one, so I made a project timeline for you guys to follow. My dad comes from Ireland, my mom comes from America, but I grew up partially in Malta, partially in Florida. Then TGS gave me the travel bug, as it so often does. So, after graduating high school, I moved to Los Angeles, where I got a degree in cognitive science from USC. And then I moved to New York City for a year, and then I moved to Buenos Aires for 4 months. Then I moved to Cozumel, Mexico for 4 months, where I learned how to scuba dive. Then San Diego for 4 months, back to Los Angeles for another 4 months, and then I solo traveled the world and went to 11 countries over 4 continents. We're not done yet. Then I moved to Dallas, Texas for a year in 2024, and I just moved back to New York City in February, where I think I might just stay put for a while. So, now you guys have just heard my first authentic story. Now let's really get into it. What assumptions had you made about me when I walked on stage? When you saw my name? When you realized that the spelling and pronunciation had absolutely nothing to do with one another? When you heard my story? So, here's a list of things that are part of my story that you may have already assumed about me that are correct. I am American, I am a ray of sunshine, I was in a sorority, I was also a cheerleader, and I am an only child. People have told me I give only child energy, but debatable. Now, here are a list of things that you may not have assumed about me, but are also true. I speak Spanish passably. I was PADI certified in zombie apocalypse scuba diving. I was raised by a single mom. I was also fired from 2 jobs. I lived in a trailer park. And I actually did not graduate from Think Global School. I say this all because some of the assumptions that we make about others are correct. A lot of them are not. Now that you've seen these facts on the screen, I'm sure your perception of me is already shifting in just seconds. So, your story is your power. I really wanted to drive home the point that people can and will make all sorts of assumptions about you. If you don't stand up to tell your story, other people will tell it for you. There is incredible power in so few words. Single mom, trailer park, fired twice. Those are not words that define me, nor who I have grown to be. Words matter, yes, but their true power lies in how they're strung together to create stories. Growing up in an extremely small and pretty chaotic family environment forced me to make my own family, my own found family. It taught me humility and compassion, that it could be anyone's worst day, so why not extend kindness to others at every opportunity? Being fired twice was hard, but I see it as the price I paid for standing firm in bold choices that not everyone will understand. It's what taught me that not everyone will understand you, your choices, or your vision, and that's okay because someone else will. As the ever-wise Tyrion Lannister from Game of Thrones once said to Jon Snow, "Never forget what you are. The rest of the world will not. Wear it like armor, and it can never be used to hurt you." Learn who you are, own it, love it, be it, and be the teller of your own story. Because once you do, you are unstoppable. Storytelling is for everyone. It's not just for writers, although I do enjoy writing and doing stand-up comedy. Storytelling is the bridge between experience and action. It is what transforms knowledge into influence, curiosity into connection, and ideas into tangible movements. The life experience that you all as students have gained at TGS is so outrageously different from that of your peers. It's what fostered my passion for writing that's now become a full-time career as I learned to make sense of the world around me through words as we explored city after city, country after country, experience after experience. And you'll spend the rest of your life explaining what a traveling boarding school is. I still do. And why your curriculum included canoeing over 100 kilometers in the Canadian wilderness and cleaning up after a river Tet in a river in Vietnam. And that being said, even with a wealth of unbelievable experiences under your belt, growing up in an increasingly digitized and chronically online society, you do not have it easy. You are constantly bombarded with everyone's most aesthetically curated version of themselves, the story they choose to put into the world. As we all know, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. You will learn far more about who you are and how to find your place in the world by leaning into what is true about you at your core. Not what you think should be true, not what you want to be true, because the offbeat quirks that we may feel tempted to hide from the world are actually the most fascinating, compelling, and interesting things about us. They're what make each of us irreplaceable, unique, and it is what people resonate with because it's different, it's raw, and it's real, and it is you. So don't stop asking yourself uncomfortable questions that force you to explore your inner world. That is where you will strike the perfect chord. Remember, there is beauty in truth. So speaking your truth inspires others to do the same. Yes, I gift myself. For those of you who participated in yesterday's workshop that we held, you learned the importance of challenging each other's assumptions in real time. You learned how to tap into the emotional vulnerability to share your stories, the big ones and the small. Now, I'm here to reiterate to you and to everyone else why you have to tell them. Stories are what connect us. They allow us to share, learn, bond, and grow. Researchers have even proven the power of stories on a neurobiological level. When we hear compelling narratives, our brain releases oxytocin, a neuropeptide colloquially known as the cuddle hormone, because of the key role that it plays in emotional connection and in social bonding, which means that the stories that you share with the world have the power to affect not just your own attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors, but that of everyone around you. So, have you guys ever been doom scrolling TikTok and been put on blast by a video on your For You page that calls you out so personally, so nichely, and so specifically you wonder if someone has been secretly studying your life? I totally have. So I didn't realize that apparently millions of people have also given Grammy award-winning performances to a crowd of their stuffed animals on a Friday night at 3 a.m., scream yelling into their dry shampoo bottle like they're a scorned pop star giving their debut performance after a toxic breakup was splashed all over the cover of US Weekly. But apparently they do. So as someone who literally works in social media advertising, I can tell you that no, you are not on The Truman Show. There is just a very complex algorithm, not so secretly, studying your swiping habits, your likes, your dislikes, your sense of humor. But before you happened upon that all too relatable clip worthy of a repost, you thought that your experience was completely original, that no one else could possibly relate to it, right? Yet the comment section is also full of these hyper niche relatable thoughts that make you feel pretty seen, sometimes uncomfortably so. And while I am not specifically advocating for the use of social media here, it has its foibles, I say all this to illustrate that taking even a small step to share your experiences in an authentic way, that is vulnerable, that is authentic, and may not seem like it will resonate with others, it's yours to own. You sharing your authentic self can be the thing that gives people the courage to share their own. So share your unique point of view. Share your unique point of view, whether it's with fellow students, alumni soon to be, whether it's in a cafe, in person, with your family, with new people, whether it's in writing, poetry, paintings, or even a job interview. Just tell your authentic truth in a story, and you will start to figure out what connects you to others. And then you can explore the beauty of that connection. And one day, you too can share the story of how TGS has changed the trajectory of your life. Thank you.
Thank you, Summer. Wow, what a meaningful way to open the night. It's always a privilege to hear from one of our alumni.
Thank you, absolutely. That was an amazing speech, and time to move on to the next segment of service where learning meets action and real-world impact begins.
Please join us in welcoming Natasha and Kenzo D to the stage.
Oh. Well, okay. Hello, everybody. Natasha and I will be presenting you what service learning is at Think Global School.
But Kenzo, what even is service in the first place?
Well, service can be provided in many different ways, shapes, and forms. For example, you could donate to a local charity, volunteer in your local hospital, or even start an NGO. But I was wondering, what even is service at TGS?
Well, at TGS, we try to do service in different ways, like all school garbage cleanups in Hanoi's Red River, but most importantly, through our service learning program, where each student bridges a gap in their home country.
Whoa, that's so cool! But how could I start?
Well, Kenzo, the first step is identifying a problem in your local community. How, you may ask? Well, the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals helps us categorize worldwide problems and narrow it down for our own projects. Take Marilee's project, where she used UN SDG goal, no poverty and good health, to help identify a problem and find a solution. From that, Marilee chose something she was passionate about and found a solution, which was a knitting exchange program from the youth to the elderly. Anyways, Kenzo, after picking my SDG goals, what do I do now?
Okay, well, you could start by being directly involved in your community and seeing for yourself what they actually need. There, you could take an apprenticeship to see if the solution actually matched the problem you are trying to solve. Look at Callie's service learning, for example. Basically, her sustainable development goal was quality education and reduced inequalities. She worked with the Deaf Kenya Film Festival to celebrate, support, and recognize films in deaf culture and to raise awareness for deaf communities. The way she helped was simple. She fundraised, promoted films, and advertised through merchandising.
And is that what the community told her they needed?
Yes, exactly what the community told her she needed. But the goal of service is to work with them and not for them. And to add on to that, you need to help find a problem that they need solving and not that you think they need help with. And that's the thing with service. Service does not have to solve an entire problem. It just has to find a solution that could. Well, now that I've done my service learning, how can I even measure my impact?
Well, the truest measure of success is when everyone involved has helped each other and made them feel seen and respected. To quote one of our alumni, Marilee, it wasn't just giving a scarf for the cold, but giving a gift that was made out of love and care. And from the voices of the elderly she was helping, nobody had ever treated me so lovingly.
And remember, service isn't about saving the world. It's about walking alongside it with humility, compassion, and courage. Some of TGS's core values.
Now we ask you this: how can you be the difference?
And to answer your question, one of our current students, Kenzo W., will now present you the difference he is making.
Give it up for Kenzo.
Hello everyone, I'm Kenzo W, or Kenzo Wei, and I will be presenting my service learning project. So basically to start, I'd like to show you this video, which may be a little confusing at first.
Some Genki balls into the waterway today. It's all thanks to a partnership between the Yacht Club and the Genki Ball Project, which aims to improve water quality in the Alawai.
You can think of them as mud balls carrying a lot of microorganisms, and the microorganisms that are inside are really useful for eating, you could say, bad bacteria, fecal bacteria. After a few weeks' time, they'll start decomposing, the fish will start eating them, and you could say like spreading the microorganisms, the microbes around. And those microbes will slowly eat up, hopefully, all the sludge, all the fecal bacteria that makes this water polluted.
Genki balls were first tossed into the Alawai back in 2019. The goal is to make the canal's water not only clear, but also swimmable as soon as next year.
So you may be wondering, hey Kenzo, why were you on the news, specifically in Hawaii? And before I tell you the answer to that, let me start with my story. So growing up in Hawaii, I had a lot of exposure towards the marine environment. You can see in this photo, this is actually me snorkeling with dolphins in the Red Sea. And overall, throughout my entire life, I developed a very strong love for the marine environment, whether it be through scuba diving or underwater photography. And in Hawaii, this is really prevalent. Specifically, there's a very famous canal in Hawaii where I live called the Alawai Canal, which is a main waterway that impacts a lot of the marine life we see, and it's a sightsee that usually I drive by every day wherever I go in the city. But this photo is a lie. In reality, it looks more like this. It's very polluted due to sewage, runoff, and not so useful sewage management. And there's even claims for people who actually live around here that the canal itself has its own stench, which is pretty bad. There's also been tests done to see the amount of bacteria that's in there. And you can see in the green zone is considered the safe limit for how much fecal bacteria should be in the water if you wanted to go swim in it. The blue levels, as you can see, are not so safe. So there even has been a few death cases that have been covered by the news of people, or thrill seekers, as they described, who jumped into the canal. And it's a real huge health concern for our community in Hawaii. So I wanted to set out to help clean this canal up for part of my service learning project. And in doing so, I bumped into the Genki Alawai project, a really interesting project that, as you can see in the bottom right photo, used this interesting method called Genki balls to help clean up the water and the sewage in these contaminated areas. And you may be asking, what's a Genki ball? Well, Genki balls in essence are mud balls with EM fluid, standing for effective microorganisms. They're basically made with this fluid along with a bunch of other materials such as soil and rice oil that help sustain the bacteria in these balls, and they clean the water via bioremediation. Bioremediation, in a nutshell, is the idea of using basically bacteria or natural forces to help remediate the natural environment, as the name suggests. And in this case, the Genki balls act as underwater janitors and can restore a clean environment in the water. They do this by containing bacteria that will eat unhealthy bacteria or other pollutants in order to make the environment more livable, clean, and sustainable. So after I found out about the Genki Alawai project and thought the Genki balls were such an interesting and cool way to help clean the environment, I immediately reached out to them and wanted to start working with them to help deploy them in my local yacht club, as you can see here. This involved a lot of contact, communication, as well as testing the waters to see what they were now so that we could hopefully see an improvement when we deploy them on later, and also possibly get some help to deploy these Genki balls. And that's exactly what I got. Very quickly, I was able to not only start making these Genki balls at the site, but also help make them with community volunteers. And one thing I'd like to point out about these Genki balls is they're really accessible and hands-on. So in essence, you're really, as you can see in the photo, just making and taking care of mud balls. And because of this, I was able to get even high school students and people that were younger than me to actually help make these Genki balls. And they don't require that many resources. So that helps with the accessibility of this solution. After we made them, over the course of 6 weeks, which included creating them, storing them, having them dry, and sustaining these Genki balls, we were actually able to deploy them in the water, as you can see here. In essence, we're just throwing them in the water. And this is a really big moment for me because I had over 30 volunteers who helped me make and deploy these Genki balls, which is a lot more people than I had initially anticipated. And we deployed over 1,000 Genki balls in this area with the help of all these volunteers. And I did also want to mention that because these Genki balls are so easily deployed, you literally just throw them, as you can see here, I was able to get some really young people to help me out. And it's a way to make it both interactive and fun for even younger audiences who may not fully comprehend the idea of environmental protection. And we've also seen a lot of really positive change after deploying these Genki balls. So one of the biggest notice that I saw was the increase in aquatic life, both from my perspective, just looking at the waters of the yacht club, but also some testing that we did, which included obviously videoing and qualitative data gathering. And we saw various fish species. So you can see here on the right side, there's Moorish idols was a really big notice that we didn't have before. I also was able to see an eagle ray, which for those of you may know, are very rare creatures. And I was really excited to see that in a yacht club that was previously diagnosed with so much fecal bacteria. As well as you can see here this crab and a bunch of other ones that we saw. And the Genki balls are literally right next to them. It's really interesting to see because the Genki balls will actually the crabs will eat and tear the Genki balls apart to help accelerate that process of bioremediation that the Genki balls do so well. And lastly, that deployment event that I just explained about was actually the one that was broadcasted, kind of circling back. And not only did this was a really big moment for me because I wasn't expecting it to be broadcasted. My original goal was to focus on helping the marine environment, not necessarily making people aware or helping people or getting people involved. That was more of like a secondary bonus. But I was also able to appear on literally the most widespread news station in Hawaii, Hawaii News Now, and they roughly have 2.2 million web visits every month. For a bit of context, that's to show how much people my project might have actually reached, which is a real bonus for me. And so I'd like to finish off with this. Genki balls serve as an ideal example for environmental care. They're accessible, cost-effective, human-friendly, and most importantly, natural. In my opinion, they're a prime example for environmental action. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Kenzo D, Kenzo W, and Natasha. Can I please get a show of hands as who's interested in the service learning program or thinks that it makes a difference? Wow, everyone has their hands up.
Service is all about putting learning into action and making a real-world impact. And nothing screams impact like going back to your community and solving a real problem there. So moving on to the next theme, we're going to talk about grade 12 masteries. But before that, what exactly is a mastery? Mastery is a year-long project every single TGS student has to endure, and it represents that intersection between creative application and passionate learning about our own respective fields.
First up is Sarfo, who developed an app in partnership with an NGO. So please welcome him onto the stage and let's hear how technology drives social change. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarfo. I'm from Ghana, and I'm 17 years old. And today, I'll be presenting or talking to you about my mastery project, as put, my year-long personal project, as I like to call it. What is this project focused on? Well, it's simple. Digital isolation, or as the title says on the screen, bridging the gap, fighting digital isolation with my current passion right now, coding or programming. This is Ghana. This is the flag of Ghana. These are pictures of my country, Ghana, and these are pictures of me hanging out with my local community, escorting my local community. Now, what is the problem in Ghana I'm trying to solve? And the thing is, everyone has access to technology, mobile phones, iPads, laptop, but despite having access to all of this technology, they don't know what's going on around in the world. Some people don't even know what's going on in their own community or even their own country. If there are elections, they don't know there are elections. If the government's making changes, they don't know the government's making changes. So why do I care? Why do I care so much that despite people having access to easy technology or tools that help them a lot, they don't know what's going on? Well, I'm lucky because I can say I attend Global School, a school that prides itself on knowing what's going on around the world, and even if we cannot solve it, why is it happening, and what do we need to know? On top of that, I'm an aspiring software engineer. As someone who wants to be a software engineer, your main job or your main role is to solve problems, solve issues for people. Plus, one, I love to build apps. Two, like I said, I love to solve problems. And three, I love to help people. That leads me into my idea or my vision. People who have access to technology but don't have access to information. What do I need to give these people to help bridge this gap? So I came up with these four little steps. One, share curated news and global trends around the world to these people in a simple, easy format in tools that they already have and use every single day. Second one would be to promote events, being a local, international, and allow these people to be able to register for all of these events around. The third one would be for this application, website, whatever it is, to serve as a hub for the local community, people to hang out, come together, share information, knowledge that they know, and help each other. And this thing has to also be able to give these people, the youth in the country, access to free courses. Now, as I said before in the slide before, I love to build apps. I want to be a software engineer. So for me, this was really simple. If I wanted to solve this issue, I needed to make an app that I said could give these people access to the information they need and the events they would love to attend to and would potentially help them. But to be able to do that, I had to go through four main steps. One, I had to learn. Then two, I had to design. Then three, I had to start building. And then four, which is the most important step and combines everything else, would be to iterate. Basically, go through every single step, one at a time again, keep learning, keep designing, keep building, making changes, and finally, to reach a desired outcome. But to learn, I had to figure out, what is my target audience? Well, for me, my target audience was the youth in Ghana, either kids or students around my same age, or basically people from ages 16 to 20, 24. After figuring out my target audience, I had to decide, what technology do they use? Specifically, what mobile phones do they use? Most people use Android phones, but also use iOS phones or Apple phones. So I needed to find a programming language that not only would help me build an app for both phones, but would work without having to spend much more time. Because as I said before, I had only 1 year to come together with an app, design, and build it. And then I had to choose what was going to run the authentication process. When you log into an app, you have to sign up, sign in, log out. What is going to run all these processes? Where am I going to keep my code? How will I protect this code so in case something went wrong, I still have access to it, or if I change locations, I still have access to all this code. This was all involved in the first section, the learning phase. I had to go through this process multiple times, figuring out what I needed. And then from the learning, we move on to the design phase. This phase, I would say, was the hardest for me, because as a human being, I'm not very good at designing stuff. As you can see, these are pictures of what my initial design looked like. Can't see really well on the screen, but there's a lot of text, a lot of lines, and they don't really show much as compared to my final design over there, where you can see pictures and proper layout and fonts, colors and buttons, all this kind of stuff. Basically showing my journey as I progressed from the beginning all the way to the end. After designing, I now came to the third, or the most important step, which was kind of like building and iterating. I had to build an app and make changes to it. And to do that, I needed to figure out a system, a way where not only would I be able to build and keep track of what I'm doing, but I will be able to update my testers, or people who essentially be using the app and helping me build, track also what's happening. So I had a spreadsheet, or simply put, a Google Docs, where I recorded what did I need to do today, what do I need to do tomorrow, what has already been done, what needs to be done, and then I shared it with the people who were going to help me test it. After sharing it with them, they went through the app, gave me feedback, and I recorded that information as well. What did they say? Did everything work exactly as it was supposed to work? Do any changes need to be made? Is the button not showing up perfectly on the screen? Do I need to change that? All of that was done in these two Google Docs over here. Now, this is a demonstration of me opening the app and pictures on the side of the app actually working and being used by me, of course. So over here, you can see as I open kind of like a new section, like giving someone access to, as the title says, AI. So now, I would like to move on to the next step, the impact. What has this app done to help the people in my local community to help better? Well, I can confidently say, based on the people who have used it and tested it, this app has helped the youth in the country feel more connected and informed about local news and issues around. Also, it has helped kind of like break the digital isolation issue I set out to solve in the beginning, using a tool that everyone already has. 3, I help share news about technology, sustainability, and updates in a simple way. Everyone has a phone. All they need to do is download the app, go into it, and they have access to any information they need. Also, this app not only helps solve the issue, but it helped build confidence, awareness, and helped bring the community together as one, as people came together to the same event and shared information and knowledge they already knew with each other. Next step for me right now would be to fully launch the app across the whole country and to partner up with more NGOs to distribute and share this app, possibly in other countries in Africa as well. To me, this project wasn't just about technology or my passions or ambitions. It was about access. It was about making sure the young people in my country, the youth, weren't left out just because they didn't know what was going on. And to end this, I would like to state a quote by Matt Mullenweg, the founder of WordPress, which basically says, "Technology is best when it brings people together." Thank you.
I'd like to thank Sarfa for that amazing presentation. I'm calling up Harika to the stage to present his mastery.
first sip of coffee was when I was around 7. A latte my dad made me. I can vividly remember how it tasted, warm and smooth, with this little edge that made my face scrunch up for a second. I didn't fully get it, but something about it felt cozy and serious, like it meant something. I also vividly remember the moment around it, the warm welcoming, smell of coffee beans, but more than anything, it was the day that signified the grand beginning of my dad's and eventually my steps into the coffee industry with the opening of our first store in Hong Kong. My name is Holka. I'm a grade 12 student, and in the past 3 years, I've traveled a total of 3 In the past 3 years, I've traveled a total of 12 countries. 12 countries in TGS, and a common quote I would hear in those 3 years were, quote unquote, I love coffee. And at least 50% of the time, the person saying that would be me. Now, I relate to quote unquote, I love coffee so much that I've dedicated the majority of my TGS projects in some form to coffee. And if my learning journey in the 3 years were to be a cup of coffee, let me show you how I brewed that from the scratch. So the first step of brewing your cup of coffee is picking the right beans. My selected type of bean was the Mastery Project. The reason behind this was that I already had expertise in my taste palette, but not so much of the overall coffee industry. Just Coffee, my Mastery Project, was a research project that spanned a year and a half, where I studied 5 key indicators of the topic: history of coffee, production of coffee, seeds to cup, producing countries of coffee, and coffee industry of the world. The research studies were conducted through primary observational studies, where my mentor and Sophie and I visited multiple cafes in different countries. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Just Coffee, my Mastery Project, is a research project that spanned a year and a half, where I studied 5 key indicators of the topic: history of coffee, production of coffee, seeds to cup, producing countries of coffee, and the global coffee industry. The research studies were conducted through primary observational studies, where my mentor Sophie and I visited multiple cafes in different countries to identify the difference in quality, cultural differences, and customer preferences. Secondary data sampling research is where I looked through 20 different sources, ranging from articles, research papers, and editorial magazines. The outcome of this project was that not only did it provide me with foundational knowledge on the topic, with the topic of 5 pillars of learning, I also had the opportunity to meet coffee lovers from all around the world and got to see passion and similarities across all sorts of different cultures. Sorry. This project also encouraged me to start looking at more niche areas of the industry that piqued my interests, and to continue my research through the following projects. Now, once you've chosen your beans, the next step is to grind them to the right consistency, to break things down and analyze the details and see what each part is made of. This is where my comparative research paper came in, a capstone research project where I dove deep into the trade systems behind coffee in Ethiopia, one of the world's most iconic coffee origins. I compared the traditional commodity market systems. Sorry. This is where my comparative research paper came in, a capstone research project where I dove deep into the coffee trade systems in Ethiopia, one of the world's most iconic coffee origins. I compared both the traditional commodity market systems regulated by international agreements with alternative trade organizations like Fair Trade, Rainforest Alliance, and other organic movements. Through this paper, I unfolded the social economic benefits received by small-scale farmers under each system and questioned which model truly delivers on equity and sustainability. It helped me understand that these trade systems aren't as clear-cut as they seem, and while alternative trade organizations like Fair Trade and Rainforest Alliance promote success stories, I noticed how little research exists on failures. Their own websites highlights wins, but rarely acknowledges the gaps. A reminder that even systems built to do good still operates under bias, image, and agenda. Then comes the brewing, where water meets grounded coffee, and things start to come alive. This spirit of exploration came through my personal project, where I studied coffee production in Brazil. Instead of focusing on trade, I looked at the natural and human-managed systems behind farming. I studied how techniques like agroforestry are being used to produce coffee more sustainably, and how ownership of land and resources shapes the future of coffee in Brazil. This project gave me a fresh perspective, not just on coffee itself, but on the people and environments around it. This reminded me that innovation in the coffee world doesn't just come behind bar counters, but it comes from the farmers themselves. Next up, well, coffee isn't really complete without serving it. And that's what my service project is all about. UNICEF identified a 12% drop in youth employment over the past 2 decades, largely due to the inability of young people to acquire the necessary skills for today's job market. This goes the same for Indonesia, where 10 million Indonesians aged 15 to 24 are unemployed. A significant factor contributing to this is the mismatch between the education system and job market demands, which leads many young people without the necessary skills for available jobs. To fill that gap, I decided to host a coffee workshop for young adults, particularly around 17 to 18 years of age, from an orphanage called Sunyagiri, who were curious about coffee but couldn't afford formal training. I designed a one-day workshop covering everything from flavor profiling to brewing, and even led a cupping session with beans from all around the world. This wasn't just about passing on skills, it was about offering access, igniting curiosity, and giving someone the chance to taste opportunity for the first time. And finally, every cup of coffee is shaped by the cup it's poured into, the environment, the design, and the atmosphere. For 2 months, I joined an educator-led design module, that blended interior design and coffee culture. This was a perfect module with the host country of the class being Vietnam, the second largest coffee producing country in the world, and most famous for its unique flavor profiles with its Robusta beans. We visited cafes, studied their menus and layouts, and sorry. This is a perfect module with the host country of the class being Vietnam, with the second largest coffee producing country in in the world, with its unique flavor profiles, with its Robusta beans. We visited cafes, studied their menus and layouts, and spoke with professionals from cafe owners, roasters, designers, and architects. Each guest brought their own philosophy to the table, showing us that a coffee shop is never just a place to get a drink. It's about a space to get, it's about a whole story, intention, and the summative product was to design our own cafes with our own menus and our own intentional designs. I incorporated everything I learned in the 2 months. This experience taught me how space shapes taste, and how this experience taught me how space shapes taste and how thoughtful design can elevate even the smallest sip. Coming to a close, most vividly of all, what I've brewed over these years is more than just knowledge about coffee. It's a clear idea of who I am: learner, a researcher, and a barista. And finally, someone who sees the world through coffee and TGS. Thank you.
Next up, please welcome Yosef onto the stage.
Hello and welcome to Rêves d'Hospitalité, Dreams of Hospitality. At 14, I was working in real estate and sold 3 houses. At 15, I was working for designers around the world, including Jimmy Choo, being the personal assistant to the general director. At 16, I joined one of the most transformative projects of my life, TGS, where I traveled throughout 12 countries, understanding people, understanding cultures, and what's more important, understanding myself. I was handled with a very big task. I needed to handle my passion in a place that's traveling all the time, in a place that's providing us with so many opportunities to do so many things. Since a very young age, I've always been interested in hospitality and service, providing for people, caring for people, giving that love that sometimes is not very much given around the world. I've always been interested in transcendental experiences, whether that's traveling throughout the entirety of Israel to try to understand where I come from, who am I, and where I want to go, or this type of retreats in India where you are trying to understand your intention and your purpose. I've always been fascinated by cultural authenticity and by trying to replicate and continue the heritage that we were left that makes humanity so beautiful, that makes humanity so diverse. And I've always been extremely interested in togetherness, creating events where people get together, where souls meet, and where people have the opportunity to continue living in a way that's connected and in a way that achieves oneness. So, what do you do? I needed to do a project that was meaningful, transcendental, and enjoyable. And at 16, I also chose that my next step was to create a hotel. Welcome to my hotel. In order to build it, it took me 2 years. 2 years of traveling throughout 25 countries to many places around the world, speaking with general managers, engaging in internships, and having the opportunity to see and observe, analyze what works, what doesn't. I went to all the firms around the world. From the 4 seasons, I learned that attention to detail is extremely important. From the Ritz-Carlton, that anticipation of needs really thrives the market. And from a man, that cultural authenticity is extremely important, especially in a world that's forgetting our authentic selves and the heritage we should carry within us. The next step was getting all the best attributes from the brands and combining them into a very big brand that has those attributes. I had the great opportunity to partner with Mark Lakin from the Legacy Untold. He's a member of one of the 27 members of the A+ Advisor list, and also the founder of one of a very nice and exclusive and fantastic and unique consulting agency for hospitality. Together, we created the concept of Bliss Mahal. Welcome to Luxury with Soul. What's about Bliss Mahal? Close your eyes for a second. Think you are in the desert. Think you are with people you've never met. Think big. Well, that's a Bliss Mahal. It is a symphony of senses, a place where every single neuropsychological interaction has been thought, where frequencies in music and where scents and aromas are carefully crafted to evoke memories and to bring you to places that achieve a place of wholesomeness. Imagine a story of you. A place where every single staff member knows your name, knows who you are, and is extremely interested to know what you're passionate about and what you want to do in life. Do you like art? Fantastic. In your room, you are going to have an art piece. Are you an artist? You might have the art piece that you did in your room, pasted in your room. A journey within you. Imagine how beautiful it is to achieve a place of intentionality, a place where you think on what you want to become and how you want to become it, guided on mindfulness workshops and a diverse array of guided meditations in order to find that. A place where you can meet souls, when you can connect with people, and where you can forge that towards the rest of your life. Imagine meeting your soulmate in a retreat in the middle of the desert. Imagine going to a place where cultures are completely celebrated, where Passover and Christmas, Diwali and Thanksgiving are all completely celebrated, completely cherished as a way of achieving union among the people. A place where every single ingredient has been sourced from around the world in order to reflect the beautiful cuisine of around the world. A mixture of Mediterranean, Japanese, and Middle Eastern cuisine. A place where you can sit down, look at the stars, and think. Think on the vastness of the nothingness. A place where you can go and hear the whispers of Jerusalem, the vastness of Tel Aviv, the beauty of the Red Sea in Eilat. Imagine a place where every single element of interior design has been crafted, completely thought, and studied by international designers and architects, where every single bit is meant to represent a bit of culture and a bit of a state of being. Imagine a place where you're able to understand where you come from, who you are, and where you want to go, where every single element has a story behind it, where sustainability, cultural sustainability, economic sustainability, and environmental sustainability is taken at its core and is replicated towards the people so they can go and create an impact in whatever business they have. Imagine a place where we delight you, we surprise you, and every single day we manage to find a way to make you happier and to make you surprised. A place where constant innovation is at its core. A place where you do not leave. You co-create. You co-create with us, the hotel. Do you have a special recipe for your grandma? Fantastic. That's in our menu. Do you have a very special painting? Fantastic. That's in our lobby. Imagine a place where the revenue, or part of the revenue, is dedicated towards cultivating peace in the Middle East. A place where that part of the revenue goes towards a dog sanctuary in Mexico. A place that allows teachers, doctors, firefighters to have the holidays they also deserve. Imagine a place where the staff members are family members, are rooted in love, are rooted in embracing their essence and embracing to the fullest. A place where both staff and guests feel welcomed, feel secured, and feel a beautiful feeling of oneness and Ubuntu. There's no need to imagine it anymore. That already exists. Welcome to luxury, luxury with soul.
Thank you, Yosef, Haruka, and Sarfo for those amazing presentations. I think I speak for us all when I say the work you guys have been doing this year really, really shows. So please, let's give them one more round of applause.
Now we would like to welcome the TGS band onto the stage again.
Well, sometimes I go out.
A heartfelt thank you to the band. Your music truly elevated the atmosphere, so let's give them another round of applause.
Our next presenter takes that to heart, exploring the connection between music and mathematics in a creative and unexpected way.
Please welcome Huxley to the stage.
There are numbers in the music. Culture is more than a feeling. What is music? The strum of a guitar, the rhythm of a drum. I argue that music is more than sound. This video is music. It holds the same information. Sheet music is music. MIDI is music, if anyone's ever heard of that. So then, if music isn't just what we hear, what is music? Music is best described by the life behind the music, the person, their experience, the passion, and their culture. In Brazil, music is everything, especially so in Bahia. It's in their history, with candomblé, a syncretic Afro-Brazilian religion, being an essential part of maintaining African heritage for many enslaved people. Each orisha, or god, has its own rhythm, which in ceremony holds the connection between the people and the orisha. And in the modern day, with Carnival, a massive spectacle of music and life with powerful beats and lively melodies that are a celebration of Brazil. This makes music essential in its culture. Loaded, it's okay. It's going to load? It's not going. Okay. People make music for people, so it's no surprise that people are really good at finding patterns. Flow, rhythm, melody, a catchy lyric, a moving melody. People don't make music for computers, and so computers aren't so good at finding the patterns in music. Maths can help. Maths is the language of models, and like physics and stocks, we can model everything with mathematics. And I used mathematics to find the numbers in the music, as well as a bit of programming. I used what's called a Fourier transform, and I turned the sound into numbers, and then used a computer to analyze those numbers, creating visuals that show the different aspects of the music. So if you look here, we have a little example of so you're aware, what the visualizations look like. We have a central spectrum of what the actual sounds are being played, and then the spirals on the outside communicate certain things. So the color indicates the root notes of the song, what is currently being played or sung. The texture gives you indications as to how much noise there is, how chaotic, what the drum rhythms are. And then the shape. When the shape is chaotic, much like the texture, it gives you a little bit of indication. But the shape of the spirals especially will give you a lot of indication as to the rhythms of the drum beat, the spacing, how they're presented. And I'm going to give you a couple examples now. So first up, we have an example of samba, and I'll let that play in a second.
Filho gigante, Badaue, Ilea e male de baleo oba. Tem mistério que bate no coração, força de uma canção que tem o dom de.
Okay, that was a little snippet of a song curated by a good family friend of mine. The patterns in that, the drum patterns in that song were indicated within the spirals radiating from the center. The spacing between the different spikes give you an indication for the drum rhythms and how they influence the music. And again, the root notes were being exemplified in the actual colors within the shape. The next example I'm going to show is an example of candomblé, part of that religion, a song using rhythms and melodies from that.
Quem é que sobe a ladeira do Curuzu? E a coisa mais linda de se ver é o Ileaie, o mais belo dos belos.
Again, cut off. But here you can see a lot more of the intricate drumming patterns, smaller peaks, but more with different spacings, different indications from that. And here, because there's not a instrumental melody, the actual colors are representing a lot of what's being sung. And so I just want to end this pretty brief presentation with a little tidbit about culture, because there are numbers in the music, and culture is more than a feeling. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Huxley, for that fascinating look behind the patterns behind math.
Now we take a step even further back into ancient skies and celestial bodies with a project that blends history with science.
Let's please give a warm welcome to Maya onto the stage.
Okay, hi. Before I start anything else, let's get a raise of hands. How many have looked up at the sky and thought that they saw patterns in some of the stars. So basically all of you, awesome. Well, you're not alone. Not only are you not alone in this room, but you're not alone in all of history. For many years, through all of your ancestors, people have looked at the sky and saw patterns and made something out of that. Well, it changed religions, cultures, all of basically, agriculture, all of that. But how do we know any of this? Well, we know this through archaeoastronomy. But what is archaeoastronomy, right? Well, it's a mix of two different words. The first one is archaeo, or archaeology, which is the study of human history and prehistory through the excavation of sites and the analysis of artifacts and other physical remains. And then astronomy is the study of the stars, celestial objects, space, and the physical universe. So when you put them back together, you get the study of the stars of ancient people through their artifacts and physical remains. Pretty easy. Let's do another pop quiz. How many of you know what that is? Anyone want to guess? Stonehenge. Well, not only is it Stonehenge, not built by aliens, might I just add, it is a building made by the Neolithic people for, celebrating their gods during the solstices of the summer and winter solstices, the longest and shortest days of the year. It is also, you'll never guess this one, it's archaeoastronomy. Anyone want to guess what that one is? Pyramids, that's correct. Built in a line of 3 to represent the constellation Orion, also the god of the afterlife, that they believed in. Also built on the cardinal directions of north, east, west, and south. And also, anyone want to guess? There you go, you got it. Anyone want to know what that is? Angkor Wat, there you go, Cambodia. Built specifically for the gods and built in, for anyone? There we go, built towards the east and west. We have Polynesian wayfinding looking at the North Star. We have the pyramids of Maya. Me, I'm Maya, hi. And looking and praising the gods. We have the terracotta army in ancient China, built specifically to help their emperor through the afterlife. We have the Sicilian temples in Sicily, obviously. And we have here, right in Italy, we have the Pantheon in Rome. And you'll never guess what any of these are. Anyone want to say it? There you go. Talking about the Pantheon for a second, I can explain a little bit how we know that this is built in archaeoastronomy. We can see here at the top, this is the oculus, and specifically on the day of April 21st, or the birth of Rome, Roman Empire, where you are standing, the light from the sun shines on the door to welcome in the emperor who comes on that day. Super cool. But also, domes are a great way to learn about archaeoastronomy. You'll think about that later. So, archaeoastronomy is this great field, but why do any of us care? It's a thing. Well, I wanted to bring this field to the younger generation because like many studies of science, it is filled with old white men. So, why don't we bring it to the younger generations? Talk about, how do we bring this to our children and their children? Because it's a very interesting field. We'll get into that. That gets me to my mastery. This is my mastery, if you didn't know already. This is the question I was looking at. How can I create an engaging, low-budget planetarium and show to teach young people about archaeoastronomy? Super cool. So I did this in 3 separate ways. The first one is build a planetarium. Yes, I built this actually. Took a lot of work. A website to teach other people how to build their own planetariums, and a super easy how-to for students grades 7 to 12 and their educators, as well as a video show. This video show will be on the website for these people because a lot of teachers also don't know a lot about archaeoastronomy, and this helps them not have to have a whole degree in it before, doing it. So it's super easy. They can just kind of press play and go for it. Nobody has to do any prior research except for, me. So, first off, this is the planetarium. This is my home, so Please don't dox me. This is the planetarium. It's about 6 feet tall and 10 feet large. And this is a little screen we set up inside, so super cool. And then this is my website, trying to be as interactive as possible and explain it for the younger generation, our generation, to make it super simple for everyone to, want to build a planetarium, because who doesn't want a planetarium? Raise your hand if you don't want a planetarium right now. Okay, so that's 2 of you. Cool. Well, anyways, why is any of this important in the end? Well, I could tell you it's about preserving cultural heritage, reconnecting science with culture, educational power, understanding time and place, bringing the ancient and modern together, buzzwords, we all love these words. But also, the most important one, it's super fun. Like, who doesn't want to learn about science and explore the world? And also, when you do learn about this, it's not only giving you skills about history, but it shows you how to look at things and how to see ways in different things. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Maya, for that insightful presentation. Who knew the stars had so much to say? From ancient skies to modern voices, we're now going to head into our final segment, languages.
Siamo will share her journey as a Sotho speaker and how her love for languages has influenced her learning here at TGS. Please welcome Siamo.
Dumelang batswadi, baithuti le batho ba bang ba dutseng haufi le nna. Gona nong ke tlo bolella presentation ya ka. How many of you understood nothing of what I just said? Quite a few of you. So this is essentially just to give you an example of most conversations and how they felt like as a child not being able to speak my native tongue, Sesotho, which is one of the Bantu languages that originated during the Bantu Nguni era and one of the official languages in South Africa. Spinning back to this little youngin', most of the time when she would be interacting with her family members, a lot of them would be asking open-ended questions, and her responses would probably just be a nod. So just to give you an example, how was your day? How old are you? So essentially through that, it felt as if there was a block between my roots and my culture. And this is something that I've been struggling with for a majority of my life, and only now getting a bit of closure from that through using my struggles and block from my experience as a child as a vessel to push my interest in language learning. Hi, I'm Tiamo, and I'll be walking you through my journey with languages. So, we all have a love-hate relationship with this owl, but I'd like to say that this is essentially one way that pushed me to progress through language learning in French. So, I believe that everything starts off with a foundation. And through doing little tasks and gaining vocab as I go each day was sort of the basis of my love for the French language and progressing into other languages such as Portuguese and Vietnamese as I went on through. And with TGS, I've had the opportunity to experience 4 out of 12 different countries and fully immerse myself in the different culture and language. And through that, I was able to sort of draw a few parallels between the different cultures that I was able to see and witness. So this is quite a lengthy example of one of these, but essentially we were given assignments through terms to sort of look at how we can progress through our French language and like our language learning. And in this example, I essentially talk about how the Vietnamese has incorporated French architecture into Vietnamese design all across the streets of Hanoi. And through these examples, I'm essentially connecting through the using language as a cultural bridge to bridge different languages altogether. So, I'd like to bring us back to the whole idea of communication. I believe that communication is basically the essence and the beginning of human connection. From cave drawings to now millions and millions of different languages scattered around the world, it all comes down to one common denominator, the exchange of knowledge. And I think that's something that was brought with me from experiencing my block. I wanted to use that force to drive my passion for learning other languages so I don't have to experience that block in other languages such as French and Portuguese, and being able to exchange that knowledge with the person sitting next to me. And I think through learning French and progressing with French in the language through TGS, it's giving me an opportunity to feel more immersed in other cultures as well as countries that share the same language as French, such as Francophone countries such as Vietnam. I'd like to leave you all with this quote by Benjamin Lee Whorf, which is, "Language is the instrument of society. It records and embodies experience." Thank you.
Thank you, Siamo, and to everyone else that presented on stage. It's been an evening full of insight, creativity, and reflection.
To close us off and to leave us with a few final words of wisdom, let's welcome Andy Wood onto the stage.
Thank you, Muta and Sandy, and well done on being such wonderful compares and MCs. You've done a great job. Symposium and Showcase are just wonderful celebrations of the learning that happens at Think Global School. And what you've seen now is just such an extraordinary breadth of learning. If you think of many of the schools that we went to, there was biology and mathematics, and we studied out of books and we prepared for tests. And what we've seen here is that each student has identified a project or a topic that they're fascinated in, they've investigated it, and one of the things that I sat there thinking was that we've seen here the final product, and it all looks so polished, but there have been many obstacles and challenges and changes of direction and difficult moments and times when they perhaps felt a bit discouraged, but they persevered and went through. Last week we had a wonderful TGS summit and organized by Kelly, and it was her mastery project, and particularly she had to adapt her program and the venue, and it required an enormous amount of flexibility. In the end, it was a wonderful project and a really fantastic evening, but she's learned so much along the way. And we talk in education about the taught curriculum and the hidden curriculum. The taught curriculum is long division and respiration in plants and Shakespearean sonnets. But the hidden curriculum is perseverance and integrity and problem solving and being able to think clearly. And how do we know what Maya was saying was true? Healthy skepticism and thinking clearly and knowing, what questions must I ask? And what are the right questions to ask? Didn't mean to pick on you, Maya, but just that that we teach at Think Global School not just a whole body of knowledge, but how to think, how to ask questions, how to get to the end of the road. I think it was Einstein who said that education is everything you remember after you've forgotten everything you learned at school. And by that, he didn't mean that learning is bunk, but that you learn so much more along the way. The process is more important than the product. What I love about Think Global School is that no two of these presentations were the same. Each student is unique. Each has their own particular interests and passions, and you can see so many careers developing here and so many opportunities, and that's been absolutely wonderful. We've also seen extraordinary courage, and Haruka, I want to commend you on your courage and perseverance in seeing your presentation through. And each of you had to just face the huge challenge of standing up in front of all your peers and parents and Joanne and Ashley and everyone and going, speaking confidently. And what an extraordinary skill that is to learn. And so I want to say to every student here, but in particular to those who are up on stage, we're really proud of you and well done. Now, of course, none of this would be possible without the Symposium team, and there's a whole great big team of them, and we want to thank all of them, but in particular Matt, who put so much work into making this happen. Thank you, Matt. And Matt is a bit of a swan, now, or a duck, actually. Elegant above the water, but paddling like hell underneath the water. So congratulations and thank you. And thank you to the parents for coming to join us. We really appreciate your support in being here. I know many of you have come, from literally the opposite side of the planet, from Los Angeles and everywhere, just as I look around the world, from Vietnam, the United Kingdom. Just wonderful to have people gathered literally from all four corners of the globe. So back to Mutu and Sandy.
So this concludes all the presentations for this evening. Now it's your turn to get up close with the projects, so please kindly move down the exhibition hall to the next room.
Before you go, please kindly scan the QR code and leave your thoughts on a presentation you liked or maybe even the entire evening. This concludes our presentations for today. Please enjoy the exhibition.
Have a great evening.